Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of NEC On The Run. Today we're talking men's basketball with Ron Ratner. A lot of exciting things happened last week. Ron, give me an update on where we stand.
Kyle, I love league play, and last Thursday and Saturday, we hit the jackpot with some great games. But you said it, we're a third of the way in, and we're already starting to see some separation with 3 teams now 2 games ahead of the pack with 5-1 records. Let's start with FDU and the Mount. Both 5-1, and they were in last week's marquee matchup. Down in Emmitsburg, looked like Mount was going to run away with this one, up 17 points, but the Knights came roaring back to tie it up late behind 19 second-half points from NEC All-Star Darian Anderson. But what it came down to were a series of amazing plays by Elijah Long on the Mount to seal the deal for the Mountaineers. First up, he drove coast to coast for a layup, then came up with a steal on the ensuing possession, fed Junior Robinson for the transition layup with 40 seconds left to play. But he wasn't done there, drawing a charge on the next FDU possession, and there it goes. FDU falls from the ranks of the unbeaten. Mount tops them 77-70. 2 days later, Mount rallied from 15 down to beat a solid St. Francis U team, also in Knott Arena. It was Greg Alexander who came up big in this game. 16 points in this one, 19 against FDU 2 days earlier. Big week for the East Carolina transfer. Meanwhile, FDU then traveled from Emmitsburg up to New Britain, had to grind out a 59-47 win over Central Connecticut. Nice game off the bench for Darnell Edge. Joining the Mount and FDU at the top of the NEC ladder is LIU Brooklyn. After losing their opener to the Mount at the buzzer, Blackbirds have won 5 straight games. Last week, it was Iverson Fleming who came up clutch for LIU, both on Thursday against Central and then Saturday in their rivalry game with St. Francis Brooklyn. On Thursday, he hit a 3-pointer with 39 seconds left to give the Blackbirds the cushion they needed against the Blue Devils, and then his driving reverse layup against the Terriers with 30 seconds on the clock gave LIU a 5-point cushion and the win. But some big games for LIU this week. They host Wagner on Thursday in a battle of the NEC's top 2 rebounding teams and top 2 teams with respect to scoring defense. That should be a good one. Then LIU heads to FDU in this week's marquee matchup. These 2 teams played 2 crazy high-scoring games last year. Both won by the Knights. Both went down to the end. Darian Anderson always seems to play well against the Blackbirds. That should be a good one. But the game that has everybody buzzing still, Saturday's Sacred Heart Bryant game up at the Chase Center in Smithfield. These 2 teams have some history together. Let's flash back to the 2015 NEC quarterfinals. The Joe O'Shea shot. The shot heard round Smithfield when his 3-pointer at the end of regulation sent the game to overtime against Sacred Heart. Bryant went on to win in the extra session. This game, just as compelling, maybe even more so, a 3-overtime thriller. And there were heroes everywhere in this game. With the game seemingly in hand for Sacred Heart near the end of regulation, Bryant freshman guard Adam Grant came to the rescue for the Bulldogs. He hit 3 3-pointers in an 18-second span to send the game to overtime, with each shot seemingly more difficult than the previous one. You know what, Kyle? I want to stop right here for a second. Let's go to a Twitter timeout right now.
Okay, let's go.
We're talking Adam Grant, and that reminded me of Ryan Peters, our good friend from NYC Buckets, his tweet while he was watching this classic Sacred Heart Bryant showdown. His tweet, if this was NBA Jam, Adam Grant would be completely engulfed in flames right now. That was a good one, right, Kyle?
Yeah, Ryan Peters going classic NBA Jam arcade reference. I love it, but now let's get back to the game.
Then at the end of the first overtime, another Bryant freshman, Ikenna Nduba, hit a 3-pointer late to send it to a second extra session. Now, nearing the end of the second overtime, it was Quincy McKnight. He had a big day, and we'll get to that in a minute, but his layup sent this game to a 3rd overtime. Then in the 3rd overtime, it was McKnight again who made the game's key play, not by scoring, but by setting up Joe Lopez for the game winner. When Taylor McHugh's 3-pointer at the buzzer hit the back rim, Sacred Heart had come away with the 112-110 triple overtime win in one of the highest scoring games in NEC history. Not only was the game a classic, but we had two all-time performances in this contest. We talked a lot about Adam Grant already. He hit 9 3-pointers in this game. He set an NEC freshman record. Then there's Quincy McKnight, who finished with a career-high 44 points in one of the highest scoring games in NEC history. And for Quincy McKnight, the honors just started to roll in. NEC Player of the Week, Lou Henson National Player of the Week, Met Writers Basketball Association Player of the Week, and the NCAA.com All-Week Team. What a performance by Quincy McKnight. Deserved all the accolades he got from it.
Ron, you're right. That was an outstanding game and great performances by McKnight and Grant, respectively. Now, let's go to the under the radar. I want to talk about, it's probably not Quincy McKnight or Adam Grant, but let's see who is kind of under the radar and sneaking in there.
Out in Loretto, Kyle, Keith Braxton and Josh Nebo have been getting all the headlines. Braxton's a 4-time NEC Rookie of the Week. Josh Nebo, he's the NEC's top rim protector with all his block shots and his finishing on the break. But Jamal King may be the straw that stirs the drink for Rob Krimmel and the Red Flash. Last season as a freshman, King averaged just 2 points a game. He only played 9 minutes a game as a backup to Malik Harmon. But with Harmon out for the year nursing an injury, it opened up the door for King to enter the starting lineup, and he hasn't disappointed. He leads St. Francis in scoring. He leads them in assists. He leads them in three-pointers and is one of the most accurate three-point shooters in the Northeast Conference. Last week he averaged over 17 points a game, and some of his long-distance shots helped the Flash beat Keystone State rival Robert Morris on NEC TV. Under the radar performer, Jamal King, St. Francis U.
Okay, Ron, well, we'll take a look and see if Jamal King can do anything this weekend. He's actually in the TV game this weekend on ESPN3 against Central Connecticut. We'll talk more about that later. But let's move to the next segment. I want to see if I can get this quote. Who said it?
Who said it? Kyle Turner. Here we go. That is what we are. In our league, every game we're going to have that advantage. Every game we're going to try and use that to our advantage. We dominated the glass in every game we've played in league, and we want to continue to do that. Kyle, who said it?
Is that Jack Perry, LIU Brooklyn?
Oh, 2 for 3 this year. Very good. Jack Perry. The Blackbirds have been dominant on the glass this year. Between Nurazana, he has 10 double-doubles. Jerome Frink, 8 double-doubles. They've been outstanding, and if you're getting second chance points, you're going to have more chances to win games. So props to LIU for turning it up on the glass this year. And like I said, when they play Wagner, that's going to be a real battle to see who can dominate the boards.
All right, Ron, well, LIU is 5-1, and obviously one of the reasons is because they dominate the glass. Now drop some knowledge on me. It's time for the Did You Know?
Kyle, did you know that of the 5 top scorers in conference play, 4 of them are underclassmen? We've been talking about the youth movement all season here in the NEC, but when you look at Quincy McKnight, Nizre Zuzwa, Rasheem Dunn, and Keith Braxton, those are 4 of the top 5 scorers right now in league play. Then throw in these guys that are outside the top 5, but they're certainly ranked high. Adam Grant, Miles Wilson of the Mount, Isaiah Still at Robert Morris, Glenn Sanabria, St. Francis Brooklyn, Elijah Long at the Mount, and Marcel Petway at Bryant, last year's Rookie of the Year. What I'm thinking is good luck to the coaches this year having to pick the Rookie of the Year, because this is the strongest crop we've had in the NEC in quite some time. It's deep, and it's just fun to watch them every week.
All right, Ron, well, it's exciting to see all of the young talent in the NEC. And speaking of young talent, we've got some on display this Saturday. What's the TV game?
We'll be back on ESPN3 this Saturday for another doubleheader. Central Connecticut State visiting St. Francis U out in Loretto. Women's game starts at noon, the men at 3 p.m. Last time these two teams met at St. Francis, we had a shootout. St. Francis winning 91-82 last February. I want to give a shout out to one of our NEC alums, Ronnie Drinnen. He was amazing in this game. 23 points, 20 rebounds, 5 assists. Right now, Ronnie Drinnen helping out the St. Francis coaching staff, rehabbing his knee, looking to start his pro career as soon as possible. St. Francis and Central, back at it this Saturday, 3 p.m. on ESPN3.
All right, folks, well, keep an eye out for that game on ESPN3, and keep in mind it's also simulcast on NECFrontRow.com, and you can see all the other games live on NEC Front Row. That's it for this week's show. For Ron Ratner, I'm Kyle Turner. We'll see you next week.